Ron Hicks. Ron, are you here?
He's moving to panelist.
Okay, there it is. All right. Fellow Toastmasters, hey, it's a great Saturday. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for attending TLI training today. Naturally, I am on the road today, so I am not on our regular Zoom calls, but I am delighted that you're here and we're excited to have you. Thanks for kicking off the rest of this marathon of the 5 months we have remaining for this Toastmaster year to do great things for the district. Having your training done is the background and the basics for everything we do in Toastmasters. So enjoy the training, ask questions, and ensure you're engaged for the rest of this year. Membership season is upon us, so make sure you're reaching out to your members and talking to them about things that are important to them, and make sure you're keeping a pulse on your officers, making sure they don't run out of gas as we get to this last 5 months and as we move through the rest. Looking forward to seeing everybody. Remember that we have registration that's about to be open for the conference, the district conference on May the 6th and 7th, and I'll close out with speech contests. If you need help from us, let us know, and we're delighted to help you through that. And we're looking to see the best and brightest as we go into the district speech contest. With that, back to you, Lillian. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ron. Even when he's traveling, District 77 is on his mind. Luckily, he had pulled over. Looked like he wasn't driving, so he's got a chauffeur, but he is keeping safety at heart. All right, he talked about speech contests. If you have not heard from your area director, please reach out to your area director to find out when your area speech contest is. I have seen several of them on the District 77 calendar, so they are being planned. I ask you to keep our district director, Monica Tucker, in your thoughts and prayers. She is not with us today because there was a death in her family and she went to the funeral today. So from Monica and also Kevin, we thank you for being here. There are some clubs that are really striving to become a distinguished club this year. We see the goals you have achieved in the education part. We hear about the open houses you're having to bring on new members. So keep it up. And if there is anything we at the district can do for you, just reach out to us, be it Ron, be it Kevin, or be it Monica. Yay! Okay. One thing that Toastmaster Hicks likes to do is highlight helping others. A past international president, Joanna McWilliams' theme was friends helping friends succeed. And that's what Toastmasters is, friends helping friends succeed. But Ron also believes in helping those who may be less fortunate than us, those who may need a helping hand to get where they need to be. So he is highlighting 2 nonprofits this year. One is Downtown Rescue Mission or the Panama City Rescue Mission, and the other one is Dylan's Dogs for Diabetes. And we will have a 10-minute presentation from each of those. I just saw the thing in chat. Okay, guys, you caught me. Is that better? Okay, we will have a presentation first from Stephen Fett and hear about what's going on at the Panama City Rescue Mission. Take it away, Stephen.
Good morning, Toastmasters. And out my window is a picture of what it will look like in about 4 or 5 months. Not today, but a few months into the future, it will be here before we know it. So I thought we would start by celebrating how we experience life down here in Panama City 9 months of the year. Other than that, thank you for having me as a presenter for the Panama City Rescue Mission. I'm the president and CEO. I am going to share my screen. And you will see a slide. Everybody sees the slide, correct, Lillian? Yes. Panama City Rescue Mission has been around since 1973, and it was originally chartered to help the fishermen recover after long trips at sea, oddly enough. But it's evolved over time to serve the indigent, the poor, the disenfranchised here in Bay County, Florida. We work with a number of agencies that help us do what we do. Nobody can ever do anything by themselves. And what you'll see here on the initial slide is who we are. And we're so much more than just a rescue mission. We help to, our brand is to rescue, recover, and restore lives. So you meet people where they're at and ultimately offer them services that help them to see themselves better. We want them, we're a Christian organization, faith-based organization, and we want folks to see themselves the way God sees them and their infinite potential. Kind of like Toastmasters, everybody has all this potential and it just has to be extracted over time by doing the things that ultimately allow us to progress in Toastmasters or in life. The purpose of the Panama City Rescue Mission is to help people move from suffering to flourishing. What you'll see here is the official mission statement: helping individuals escape unfortunate circumstances, destructive habits, or poor decisions. Those can be either on their own or forced. Lots of people have circumstances in life that are beyond their control. Hurricane Michael was a big one 3 years ago in October of 18. Hurricane Michael hit here, the largest storm in 50 years to make landfall, Cat 5, 150-mile-an-hour wind. Instantly, overnight, a third of the inhabitable housing in Panama City was wiped out. And the majority of folks in Panama City don't have affluent occupations or lives. In fact, 40% of the population lives at or below the national poverty level. When you combine that with the per capita median income being 30% lower than the national average, as well as housing costs being 30% higher than the national average, you can see that is a very precarious position for folks to be in, to have a disruption of any sort in their life. Many people in America don't have a very good safety fund. Whatever it is, eviction or hurricane or addiction of some sort or mental illness, you can see the causes of homelessness. Even domestic violence or healthcare, you get one illness and all of a sudden you're out on the street. And so those are the folks that we want to help to transform their lives. In fact, that's the name of our program, is a life transformation program. We start with in the Gateway program, we start with relationships, then move to health, then economics, and then housing. In the relationships, as I mentioned initially, we want folks to see themselves the way God sees them. Until we change our self-image and start to believe that it's possible for us, that even happens in Toastmasters. I think the statistic is, with respect to Toastmasters or public speaking more specifically, is that 2/3 of the people at a funeral would rather be in the coffin than given the eulogy. And that's a sad testimony with respect to public speaking. But nevertheless, we also need to help folks change their self-image. So at Toastmasters, until you get up in front of people, start to get comfortable. And in our case, the power of the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ helps us to change. And we work with a chaplain that was involved with the Department of Corrections here in the state of Florida, and do a mind mapping transformation of their mind, because you renew yourself by transforming your mind. And ultimately that gets them off on a good start to see themselves in a different place. Then we move into health, and everybody gets mental health screening and primary care evaluation at a place called Life Management Center, and then ultimately economics. As long as they are cleared for health and mental illness, they go to work and they start to establish better habits, and ultimately pay us a bed fee, which is nice. Ultimately, then they transition to the final stage, which is housing. And we work with Doorways of Northwest Florida that ultimately helps us to transition them into stable and affordable housing. Because of all of the strategic partners that we leverage here at Panama City Rescue Mission, we can safely say the data has shown over 2021, we implemented it late 2020, regardless of the storm or the pandemic and the impact, we have achieved a 96% success rate of safe transition to sobriety, stable employment, and secure housing. Unheard of in any program. We successfully graduated 150 or transitioned 115 women and children into sobriety, stable employment, and secure housing in 2021. We admitted 140 into the life transformation program. We'll give anybody, there's still 25 that have carried over into 22. We'll give anybody emergency services, but we only do it for a short period of time, because we believe that if they don't want to invest in themselves, then there's 10 other people that we want to filter through. And about half the folks that came in for emergency services they weren't ready to invest in themselves. So they're out there still wandering the street, and hopefully one day they'll maybe change their mind. But we want to help folks move from suffering to flourishing, from being takers from society to contributors. And we have a very successful track record. Now, I'd like to share one story with you about a lady named Darlene. Darlene came to us battered and bruised from the hospital. She was in an abusive relationship. They both were alcoholics and used drugs. And it says right there, being hit by a car. The guy actually ran over Darlene with a car. And she went into our addiction or substance abuse partner, Florida Springs, stayed, dried out, came back to us, went to work right away. And there she is with her new car. That was a celebration moment for all of us, where she essentially got back on her feet, and now she's living safely out in the community. And the bad choices she's made are in the rear view mirror. But we love what we do, and people in Bay County are really challenged after the hurricane and the demographic. And we even have an opioid epidemic on top of all of that because of the stresses, and it's as bad here as anywhere in the country. And we just want to take it a step at a time and a person at a time and help them through what they're going through. Finally, our website is pcrmission.org, or you can get me on the email through Toastmasters, but you can donate through that website. And the last thing that I will say is that we have a lot of military folks in Toastmasters. And if you ever see the Special Forces patch on the shoulder, left or right, I guess it means if you're deployed or not, you will see De Oppresso Liber, a couple of swords or sword, a couple of arrows going this way. And we came up with a similar one with a cross in the middle that says Veramus Liberum, which is true freedom. It's our mission to help everybody experience true freedom. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today, and I'll turn it back over to you, Lillian.
Thank you very much, Stephen, for everything you're doing for the people in the Panama City area. I love it when you can graduate people from the program and help them transition to a different part of life. Okay, now our second presentation will be done by myself. I invited the president of Dylan's Dogs to present today, but he has family from out of town. And since I am the treasurer and on the board of directors, I get the joy of telling you about Dylan's Dogs for Diabetes. The mission is, until there's a cure, there's D-Cubed. Our vision is to help people diagnosed with type 1 diabetes purchase a service alert dog or a diabetic alert dog known as a DAD in order to live longer, happier lives. Dylan's Dogs for Diabetes was started by Dylan Lancaster when he was 9 years old. He was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when he was in kindergarten when he was 5. And his parents went through a time of learning, a time of stressing, just a time of living with a young child with type 1 diabetes. Well, Dylan's dad, John, did some research and learned about diabetic alert dogs. And then the family decided they would try and purchase one. If you didn't know, the average price of a diabetic alert dog ranges anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000, depending on the amount of training. And if you knew everything that goes into training, you would think, oh yeah, that's not too bad. But Dylan said, hey, Dad, let's buy a couple of lawnmowers and mow lawns to raise the money. And his dad went, his biological father went, do you know how many lawns we would have to cut to raise $20,000? So they started some various fundraisers, and in the middle of training a dog for Dylan, the trainer, Lily Grace, told them to stop sending her money and to start a 501c3. She said, you can raise a lot more money. People are willing to donate when it's tax deductible. So Dylan and his dad and his mom did the paperwork to start Dylan's Dogs for Diabetes, also known as D-Cubed. Why D-Cubed? Dylan was in the 3rd grade by this time, and they were learning about squares and cubes. So he thought, Dylan's Dogs, Diabetes, D-Cubed. Smart little 9-year-old, don't you think? Well, anyway, I got involved as being a member of the board when John asked me if I would be either secretary or treasurer. Well, I wound up getting the job of treasurer. So this next slide is the picture of Dylan and his diabetic alert dog, Theo, going off to college because Dylan is now 18 years old. So we have been around for about 9 years, but really just got into the fundraising business the last 3 or 4 years. And I'm going to show you some of the people, our clients we have worked with. In the upper left corner here, you will see Miles, who is a diabetic alert dog, to Nolan. Nolan was 4 years old at the time we worked with him to help him purchase Miles. In the upper middle here, you will see Dylan right here in front as a member of the Sparkman High marching band, percussion band, show band, all the things that Sparkman High did. Dylan was a member of that. In the upper right, you will see Dominique with her dog, Bowie. Dominique was 26 years old when she was diagnosed as a type 1 diabetic because she got really, really sick one day, went to the ER, and her blood sugar measured about 800, which is stroke territory. So Dominique decided she wanted a dog because she lives by herself and she's afraid of going into a diabetic coma in the middle of the night and not waking up. So we helped her raise funds to purchase Bowie. In the bottom left, you will see a picture of, her name just went out of my head. I remember the dog. The dog's name is Emma Lou. And her diet, and the person with type 1 diabetes is Emma. And it just so happens that the dog happened to have the same name that she does almost. But she's 11, well, she was 11 when we helped her purchase her dog. In the middle here, we have 3 kids who are siblings. All 3 are type 1 diabetics. And we helped them purchase their diabetic alert dog, Jarvis. Jarvis costs more than the regular diabetic alert dog because typically dogs alert on one person. But this family happened to have 3 children with type 1 diabetes, and they worked with the trainer to have Jarvis alert on all 3 kids to know the difference between the 3 children. And on the bottom right is Emma. She's in Florida and she is still raising funds to purchase her diabetic alert dog. You may ask, why a dog? A dog's sense of smell is 7 to 10 times greater than a human. And when a type 1 person's blood sugar dips too low, they give off a metallic smell and the dog can pick up on that. When it gets too high, they give off a fruity smell and the dog can alert on that. And you may be thinking, well, now there is technology like the Dexcom that you can put on your arm. Yes, but guess what? A dog will alert before the Dexcom. And sometimes the children or a person blood sugar will drop so low, they are close to a coma and may not be able to wake up. And a dog will wake them up when they don't wake up to the Dexcom. Now, the next slide is going to show you how you can help Dylan's Dogs for Diabetes. This is our website, dcube.org. You can always go there and donate any amount at any time. We take donations from $1 to $100,000 if you are so philanthropic. And 95% of the donations go directly to clients. We have a 5% overhead that we keep for maintaining our website, for doing some advertising to let people know that we're here, to host fundraisers from time to time, but no one on the board gets a salary or anything or any kind of reimbursement for serving on the board of directors for Dylan's Dogs for Diabetes. We have several fundraisers going on in 2022. For one thing, everybody can't donate a lot of money, but most people can probably donate something. So we have a campaign called $22 a month in 2022. So go to dcube.org, click on donate, and just put a little memo. I'm participating in $22 a month in 2022. Another fundraiser we have is Phones for Freshmen. Go to dcube.org, click on donate, and in the memo, put, I'm donating $100 for phones to freshmen. For $100, we will buy a phone with minutes and give it to a kid who's going off to college who's a type 1 diabetic. I have a quick story about how this helped Dylan. Well, Dylan's father, John, he and his mom, he and his wife were a little apprehensive about their son going off to college, living on his own. Even though he has the Dexcom machine, he has the dog, his father said, I want a plan C. So they bought him a cheap phone, found the most obnoxious ring they could, and Dylan has to keep it plugged in on his bedside table. It never leaves his room. It's always on the table by his bed. So when the Dexcom goes off in the middle of the night, Dylan's father gets an alert on his phone. Dylan has a certain amount of time to call his father to let him know he's checking his blood sugar, he's drinking juice, he's eating something to get his blood sugar back up. If Dylan doesn't call within that time, John uses the obnoxious ring on the phone to wake Dylan up, and he had to do that one night. Dylan answers the phone groggily. Hello? His father said, Dylan, your Dexcom is going off. Where is Theo? Theo is the dog. He said, Theo's on top of me trying to wake me up. So you see, his blood sugar had dropped so low, he didn't hear the Dexcom going off. Theo hadn't woken him up, but that obnoxious ring did. But I believe if he hadn't woken up, Theo probably would have nipped him and woke him up eventually. Also, we're going to have a campaign popcorn for parents for Mother's Day and Father's Day. So go to dcube.org and watch for that coming out probably around the first week in April. And that's it for Dylan's Dogs for Diabetes. Go to dcube.org and check us out. Okay. Let me see if our person has come on board for our elective. Not quite. I don't see Sandra in the. Sandra was presenting in District 36 and was coming to us as soon as she's done. So let me talk a little bit about our conference that is happening on May 6 and 7. The conference will be held, unless something happens, will be held at the Westin Huntsville. It is a very nice hotel with good scenery around it, lots of things we can do if we have downtime. The district executive committee met a couple of weeks ago and voted that all speech contests will be done virtually at the area, division, and district level. So please, please, please participate, but just know that the contest will be done virtually, but everything else we're hoping will be done in person. We have some fantastic workshops planned for you. We have some fantastic games planned for you. We have a lot of fun planned into our District 77 conference, which is May 6th and 7th. So that Friday night, the 6th, we will have a people scavenger hunt as registration goes on from 5, starts at 5, and the contest, the Tall Tales contest segment starts at 7. About 8:30, we should be done with the contest, and then we will take a break and go into Friday Fun Night. We have lots of things planned. Okay, Jessica.
Can I say something about the contests?
Sure.
The contests have been moved to April 16th. And what we have slotted for the contest at the conference, you will get to see the winners, the top 3 from each contest speak. So we get to see the good stuff.
All right, I saw that come out in an email and I said, April 16th, was that an error? Okay, let's see. We have a hand up from. I'm trying to see who else has a raised hand.
Looks like Claudinette. She will have
Yes.
to speak in chat.
She should be a panelist, so she should be able to
Okay.
unmute.
Let me move her then. There we go.
No, you're right. It was Shantae I was thinking of. Okay.
Hey, good morning, guys. This is Claudinette, and I'm serving as the contest master for both our Tall Tales and international contests when we meet on April 16th. So listen, I'm looking for volunteers. So if you're willing to serve, please, serve as a judge, serve as counters, voters, you name it. I'm looking for volunteers, and I hope you guys are just as excited as I am. So if you're interested, just let me know.
All right. Fantastic. Sandra is now in the session, Jessica, so please move her to a panelist. Let me know when that's done and I will go ahead and introduce her.
Yes, as soon as she's accepted it, so she's been moved over.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, the person presenting our elective today is talking about leadership. As you know, the Toastmaster year runs from July 1st to June 30th. And past district director Wanda Spillers is serving as the district leadership chair. Monica has sent out several messages that asking for people to volunteer for district leadership for the period starting July 1st, 2022, ending June 30th, 2023. The deadline to nominate yourself or nominate someone else would be July 31st. So Sandra is going to tell us a little bit about district leadership. And I am going to introduce her because I've known Sandra since 2006 when she and I entered the district trio roles, the top three or the bottom three, as you want to look at it, together. I was in District 27, which is Northern Virginia, Southern Maryland, Southern DC. And Sandra was in charge of District 36, which is Northern Maryland, Northern DC. And she and I worked really close together because Toastmasters International wasn't quite sure where the line was. And they would send me a club lead that happened to be Sandra's, so I'd have to pass it to her. They would send her a club lead that happened to be mine, and she would have to pass it to me. And one club she was chartering this new club. She had taken it all the way to the point of chartering, and she called me and went, Lillian, I've got to give you a club. So, she and I have been friends for a long, long time. And even though I've known Sandra since 2006, she has been in Toastmasters much longer. She is entering her 28th consecutive year. And she has been there, she's done that, she drank the Kool-Aid, she is here for life. As I said, she served in District 36 leadership, not only once, but twice. The first time from July 2008 through June 2009. District 36 had over 3,000 members in nearly 200 clubs, and Sandra led the district to its 7th consecutive year as a distinguished district by Toastmaster International Standards. And just so you know, District 27 was distinguished that year also. Yeah, not as much in a row as 36, but we were there. I was the first one to be distinguished in our region, and Sandra was the first person to call me. That's just how close we are. Okay. But Sandra didn't learn her lesson about herding cats. And again, she most recently served as the district director in 2020, 2021. With all the things she does for District 36, would you believe that Sandra has the nerve to serve other organizations than Toastmasters? Sandra holds the position of Executive Director of the National Black Sisters Conference. She also serves as a lector at her church, as well as the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception, where she is called to serve as a lector for large masses televised on multiple international networks. Sandra holds a bachelor's degree in biology from Lincoln University in Pennsylvania and a master's in administration from the University of Maryland's University College, currently known as the Global Campus in College Park. Sandra is the mother of 3 children and the grandmother of 3 angelic children. Please help me welcome, presenting our elective, Sandra Coles Bell.
Lillian, thank you so much for that introduction. I really do appreciate it. And thank you for inviting me back to your district. We're going to talk about stepping up and leading. That's what this is about. And I want you to think about that step up, where that's going. It's stepping up in your club leadership, but it's also stepping up into district leadership. Now, I want to just share with you full disclosure, complete disclosure. All right. This is a disclosure. I didn't get into Toastmasters because of the fact that I wanted to become a leader. I got in it because of the fact that I was incredibly shy, still am, high introvert. But it was the fact that even in my own club, Sandra, would you, no, I don't want a position. And when I got to be club president, and that took some twisting, several years of asking, it was then that I happened to have been curious about what does an area director do? And the one thing that I found is that when you make statements like that outside of your own thinking, out of your mouth, and a district leader hears you, a past district leader hears you, you become an area director. And that's fine. Did I enjoy it? Yes. I loved it. It was a blast. It taught so much about teamwork, about how do we as a team work together. We had to work at the club level. We had to work with the club officers, club presidents in that area. You had to work with the other area directors in the divisions, and then you work with the other divisions and the trio leaders. This is where I saw literally my skills begin to really grow. Team building. So by the time Lillian and I had met, we had been through this process. Now, area directors may think, oh, well, I really, don't get it. I don't understand it. There's a job description. There is a detailed job description for you that will encourage you to list the things that you know how to do and the things that you don't. And then if you're really salacious about getting it, you'll dive in, you'll work with the other division area directors as well, because that is all that there is to learn. You're talking about becoming, that's what becoming is. Taking the challenges of what you don't know and then learning them. Area director was a wonderful. It is the embodiment of what a district looks like, because of the fact that that is our contact. That area director is the contact to the clubs. We all know that the member is the fundamental unit. Then the club is the next unit. And those two go together. And then when you consider that there are 5 or 6 clubs within your area, and being able to work with each of their temperaments, their cultures, their understandings, it is an amazing opportunity to learn and to grow. If you've been focused on building your communication skills, you get an opportunity to really put those into the biggest practice that you possibly can do, because there are opportunities to speak at those clubs. There's opportunities to use your own projects within pathways at those clubs. And there's opportunities to help and assist those clubs to be the best that they can possibly be. It's a year-long process. It's a year-long process, but the outcome is amazing. Then the next level comes. Now, I have to share, again, full disclosure. I served as an area director. Back then, they called them area governors. And as I was serving in that capacity, I was asked to take the opportunity to run for the trio. So that area, that I went from area director to the trio. But this is what I learned, that the division directors are another linchpin within the district. Even though I never served as one, I've had the opportunity to mentor several and watch them as they learn not to micromanage, but to manage effectively 5 or 6 area directors who are in the process of managing those 5 or 6 clubs. Yes, it is management, it is team building, it is growing, it is service at its best. I always talk about those 4 values of Toastmasters: respect, integrity, service, and excellence. And I see that exemplified in the area directors and in the division directors. Yes, they exemplify it, but they're not the only ones. So what's the next level? Well, that's running or becoming in the trio. Club growth director. Now, Lillian and I, when we served together, we were lieutenant governors of marketing. And Lillian's story is absolutely correct. I knew that if I was driving to this location, I didn't look at a map, that if I turn left, it's District 36. And if I had to turn right, it was District 27. That was before the days of Google and all of that. These, you see the silver hair. But it was the opportunity, 1, to build, and 2nd, then to be able to grace somebody else with that club that is still thriving to this day. It's like I adopted that club and share it still with 27. But the amazing experience of learning as the club growth director how to market this tool to people is this program. It was something that I thought I'll never understand. I'll never get. Don't forget, I'm a high introvert. But it was learning certain things, certain skills, how to talk, how to communicate, how to sell, that by the end of the year, as you heard, we were both distinguished. That meant we met our goals. We met our club growth goals. And with that, I felt like I looked at my district director as I was taking the last set of charter papers to him. And I said, here you go. This is it. we've made it. This is the club that we needed. And I finally feel like I could sell used cars. And I loved the skills that I had learned in that year. But then wait, there's more, the next level. Program quality director. Back then it was called Lieutenant Governor of Education and Training, and my goodness, putting together things like conferences, putting together things like the Toastmasters Leadership Institutes, making sure that the clubs and the members of the district were able to get to the resources that they needed in order to grow. It became a joy, not a job, but a true joy. Now, you know me, you've heard me say it twice, full disclosure. Was I great in my first conference? Not so great. I didn't do one thing that I should have done, and that was to delegate wisely. And I learned a lesson. It went, but there were bumps that I recognized. And with the bumps came the opportunities to do things differently in the spring. That's how we do it in Toastmasters. You get 6 months to learn it, really, and then you get another 6 months to execute it again. And that's where the shine came. It was impossible for me to have tried to do that same mistake again. No way. Again, team building, learning how to work with a team. People had gifts and they wanted to use them. Sandra, get out the way and let them shine. And they did every time. And they're still serving District 36 with those skills and those gifts. That's what that allowed me to do as the program quality director. And then if things work well, you get nominated to be the district director. But you gotta move into leadership. You gotta be able to stand there as an area director and understand it well. If you have served in the club and you know what it was like and is like within the club, when you become an area director, you'll be able to apply some things in conjunction with the culture of the club, and then also help it to thrive. So imagine if you're being successful in your club, then when you move into an area director role, you get to be successful 5 times over. So I challenge you. I ask you, what is it that's stopping you? So many people are afraid. They don't have the courage. I didn't have the courage. When there were applications for area governors, I never went and applied. If it had not been for the one person to have overheard the question that I stated out loud, I wonder what an area director does. And then to be asked to be appointed into that role and to be able to thrive. So much so that the skills that were able to be shown transformed me and moved me into trio leadership. Things like that just don't happen. Now, I love Toastmasters. I love being able to give because it gave to me. I'm still shy. I'm still challenged with having to be in front of a room. But I've learned over the years how to take the skills that I've learned over 28 years and apply them. But it wouldn't have happened if I had stayed in the club. It only happened when not my courage, but somebody else went and moved me forward and said, here you go. And when asked to be part of a trio, I had to step back, think, assess. Do I have the skill set to do it? It took me a month of complete assessment and meditation. But in the end, the answer you already heard. And I did it twice using that same process. We come into this organization to improve our communication skills, which are rudimentary to leadership. We grow our leadership by doing, by stepping forward, by stepping up and leading. You can't do it by sitting down and wondering. You can't get that skill by wondering what an area director does. You can only get it by doing it. And when you do it and you focus and you give it your best, the outcome is stunning. I challenge you. Challenge your imagination. Challenge your imagination to see yourself in one of those roles, area director, a division director, moving into the trio. I challenge you to serve your highest self. I challenge you to put those 4 skills, respect, integrity, service, and excellence, into a larger scale. I challenge you. As you challenge yourself, know that you have the joy of so many people around you to draw from. The mentoring opportunities, the being mentored opportunities. Astounding. I look for you to have challenged yourself to be the best leader that communicates effectively. Go for it. See yourself in the role, area director. See yourself in the role, division director. See yourself. Don't be afraid. And then if you need to, think about who you can go to in order to help you. Don't do it because of ego. Oh, I'm good. Nah, do it because those 4 values are the core of your reason. Respect of yourself and others, integrity, always impeccable with your word, service, that desire to give what you've received from this organization, and then striving for excellence. I don't know about you. I'm still trying to be the best self, best communicator that I can be. And when I hit that day, I plan on really rejoicing. Lillian, thank you for the opportunity to have come into your district. I miss you terribly. We will see each other still on the middle of Wilson Bridge, but with champagne, as the area directors, the division directors pour forth as they challenge themselves to step up and lead. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Sandra. Fantastic job. Some of the words and phrases and sentences I heard from you really stuck out. You challenged us to transform. You told us about team building, which is an essential skill in Toastmasters and the workplace. You told us to take this skill and apply it, the skills we learn in Toastmasters, and apply them elsewhere. We come into this organization to improve our communication skills, We grow our leadership skills by stepping up. I think I'm going to make that a quote by Sandra Coles Bell. And then you told us to challenge our imagination, see yourself in the role, and most of all, don't be afraid. Well, Sandra, we have a question in the Q&A for you. So, Sandra Coles Bell, how did you find balance, personal, professional, and Toastmasters to have time to pursue the leadership roles?
Having done it twice, I'm also the mother of 3, don't forget, and the grandmother of 3. I'm able to plan, and I plan well. I'm a planner by nature. I execute a plan. So it was really that skill of being able to plan. I knew what my time frame was. I knew what my responsibilities were to my children, to my family, to my job, also to Toastmasters, and was able to look at that. I didn't make this decision hastily. As I said, 1 month of assessing all of those parameters that would impact, and then being able to say, yes, if you plan this and you can plan that and you can plan that, and had a timeline. And that's how I was able to do it. Still keep my heart, still be able to keep my balance, grew my children. You know, they loved the fact that I was in Toastmasters. Ah, you're gone again. No, I had teenagers. Oh, you're not home right now. Oh, yeah, I'm on my way. But it was really that, and then to do it with so much fun. Being able to make sure that I could spend the time keeping things in balance. And you heard me, it was about assessing, doing a good assessment, and then being able to go and apply a plan to each one of those. Life always has differences and challenges, but when you plan, you can make sure that there's lag time built into your plans. Did I say I was successful all the time? I think I shared with you. I didn't do that first conference very well. Taught me a lesson. I planned better. Thank you for the question.
Okay, Sandra, we have a couple of minutes left on the time I had allotted for you. So we have a question about the club officers. I know I asked you to focus on district leadership, but I'm going to toss you this one about club leadership. Our club tends to have the same members be officers year after year. This can cause burnout. How can we go about getting new members comfortable with being a new officer? We see folks get spooked, so to speak, when we ask, then they leave the club. It can be a struggle. So how do we get newer Toastmasters to step up and lead?
By partnering, literally by partnering with them, by letting them know, you know, why don't you shadow me for a while, see what you think, and making sure that the skill set that they have fits the skill set of the job. Sometimes people aren't cut out to be a vice president of education. Think about it, all the planning that requires, all of the communication that it requires. And then they get burned out because they see it, no, but partner with them. How about if we do, and we do every other, or we're work months, and learning, giving them the opportunity to learn while they're doing, and then making sure that those skills that they have match. But you got to ask them, what is it that you want to do? What is it that you like? People used to ask me all the time, Sandra, I really want to team with you and be on your team. And I said, great. And they say, what do you want from me? I said, what do you like doing? Because if you're doing what you like, you'll do it despite the bad days. So think about that. Finding out what those skill sets are, matching them, partnering with them, and it'll help with the burnout, and it'll help to engage, but you got to do it. You got to, if you can partner, that's it. Because most of the time, if you're burnt out and they take over that job, you're done, you're gone. And they don't get that interface that they need. So think about how to partner with it, share. All right.
Fantastic. It's like we share the same brain, because that's exactly how I would have answered. You've got to let them shadow you. All right. Thank you once again, Sandra, for being here today, sweetheart. Love you. Thank you for coming whenever I ask, and I will see you in District 36 at your next TLI.
Thanks again, and be well, everybody.
All right, Jessica, if you will throw up our slides. Okay, next slide, please. All right, once again, everyone, welcome to Corps Officer Training. We have a couple of general slides before we actually get into the club officer roles. So probably take about 10 minutes for this, but some general information that I have picked up in my 23 years as a Toastmaster. Yes, Jessica, go to the next one, please. Just a reminder, these are the core values that Sandra just talked about: integrity, respect, service, and excellence. And the mission of Toastmasters International is to empower individuals to become more effective communication and leaders. There is a world champion of public speaking who thought he was going to join Toastmasters to show them how you speak. And when he joined the club, he said he realized he didn't know what he didn't know. He learned so much after joining Toastmasters. So we improve those skills. Next slide, please. And this is the club mission. If you use the Toastmaster template that you download from resources, you will see the club mission along the left-hand side, along the left margin, we'll put it, not on every agenda. If you did not read this mission at every Toastmaster meeting, that's okay. But read it regularly so the members are renewed as to what the mission of the club is. So new members know what the mission of the club is. So your visitors know what the mission of the club is. Next slide. We've always got the Distinguished Club program here. So every club officer should know this by heart, should know this without having to look at the chart, because every club officer should be a mentor to a newer member. And you want to make sure that newer member learn what the Toastmasters program is all about. Learn why we do what we do. Not only what we do affects us, help our communication and leadership skills, but when we input those things online, it adds to the goals of our club to help our clubs become distinguished, because we want to work toward that program. Yes, it's all about the member. It's all about the individual improving, but the individual is part of a team and the club is your team. You want to be a productive member of that team. And what happens at the club affects the area, affects the division, affects the district, affects Toastmasters International. So we all want to be active players. Next slide, please. I just wanted to highlight what's in red here. For those of you who served as a club coach and did that successfully for the Toastmaster year ending 2019, 2020, or 2021, serving as a club coach can be counted as a coach and as a district officer. So make sure your records show that you served successfully. And serving as a coach means you worked with a club that had less than 12 members and you led them to distinguished status. That's what makes you successful as a coach. So if that happened to you, make sure it's in your records and you get credit for being that coach and being a district officer. Hey, fantastic thing Toastmasters International started doing to help us during the pandemic. Okay, next slide. Toastmasters International did a survey years ago about why people leave Toastmasters. And there were various reasons, but one of the highest ranking or highest scoring reasons people leave Toastmasters is they didn't know what to speak about. And so these are some of the things that's just going to help you once you decide what you want to speak about. And I say, find something you're passionate about, be it a hobby, be it your job, be it a book you read, be it a blog you read or a podcast you listen to. I have a file called Speech Ideas. I will read something. Oh, I'm going to turn that into a speech. I go put it in my Speech Ideas file. I will hear something. If I'm not home, I will record it on my phone. And when I get home, I will put it into my Speech Idea files. So once you've collected your stories and your things in your Speech Idea file, that's how you're going to find your material. Then you're going to organize your speech. And there is lots of information online about organizing your speech in Toastmasters International. There are education modules about it. If you don't know about those education modules called the Successful Club series, the Better Speaker series, send me an email and I will download them for you and send them to you. There's like 12 or 15 education modules that will help you. And they are centered around organizing your speech, crafting your speech, preparing to speak, concluding your speech. So there's all kinds of material to help you. And next slide, please, Jessica. This is one of the simple things that I've found to help you organize your speech. Use your hand as an outline. Your thumb is going to be your opening statement. And you want to do something impactful, a rhetorical question, a quote, a dramatic statement. Make your opening statement something that's going to grab the audience attention. I am not a proponent of starting my speech out with, thank you for that introduction. My name is Lillian Cook and I'm going to speak to you today. No, the Toastmaster of the day just introduced you. And that's something you want to give the Toastmaster of the day, an introduction, so they can set up your speech so you can get to the point. And so you're going to start out with, today we are going to learn about leadership. So that's your impactful statement. And then if you want, you can recognize the crowd, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, guests. And then you want to have at least 3 points that you're going to talk about. Today, we're going to learn about leadership. Point number 1, and you don't have to say point number 1. I'm going to talk about 3 things. I'm going to talk about building your skills. I'm going to talk about stepping up, and I'm going to talk about challenging yourself. So then you go back to building your skills and you do that with point 1. Then you go to point 2 and you have a couple of supporting statements. You go to point 3 and you have a couple of supporting statements. And then you use your picking finger as your concluding statement. And if you can go back to your opening statement, today I talked to you about leadership skills. I talked about this, and this. So I challenge you to step up and make District 77 the best it can be in 2022, 2023, which is our upcoming Toastmaster year. you just look at things that you think will be impactful to the audience, that's going to keep the audience attention and going to keep the audience engaged with you as the speaker. All right, next slide, Jessica. Now we are moving into our core officer training sessions. So as we said in the announcement, if you hold more than one club officer position in your club, if you hold a club officer position in multiple clubs, you will get credit for all of those officer positions by attending today's session if you fill out the link that will be put in chat later today. The reason we say that is because not everyone who registers to attend does attend. So we have to make sure you attend it, and we will put that link in chat later during the day. Right now, I'm going to call on Ms. Hattie, who is one of our, I'm not sure who's going to talk to us today, Hattie or Shantae, one of our bingo divas, to tell us about playing bingo as we do this. So please fill out your cards, because the first 3 people that achieve bingo gets a prize from our program quality director, Ron Hicks. Take it away, Bingo Diva.
Thank you, Madam Education Chair. I'm going to put are you ready for me to put the link in the chat, right?
Yes.
I'm going to put the link in the chat to everyone. And you should receive the link. You should have received the link in the chat.
Yes, it's there.
Okay, great, great, great. All right. Well, thank you all for coming today. And what we want to do is talk about our bingo. We place a link in the chat. So all you have to do actually is just click on the link and the card should appear. And you may work the card online, or if some people want to print it out, whatever floats your boat is good with me. During the game, you bingo as in a regular game, just horizontally, vertically, or diagonally, just 5 in a row. You may only bingo one time. When you bingo, type the word bingo into the chat, and there will be someone that's monitoring the chat, and they'll take note of that. After you bingo, you may continue to play, but you cannot bingo a second or a third time to win a prize. You may only bingo one time. The bingo words or phrases will be given to you at the end of each session. To mark your card, you just click on the word or the phrase, and the system will automatically place an X in that square for you. All winners will be acknowledged at the end of the game. Prizes will be mailed to your physical mailing address. So now we want you to just sit back, relax, have fun as you learn about your club officer roles. Madam Education Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Hattie. Okay, we have several people who will be presenting today for the different officer positions. And I ask everyone presenting to please pin me, because I will be providing your timing today. So if you pin me, that way you will be able to see me as you present. So next slide, please, Jessica. Okay, these are our objectives for today. And if anyone would like a copy of these slides after today's session, just let us know and we will send them to you. All right, next slide. Today, we're going to talk about your role, your responsibilities, and if there's time, some resources that you have. But always know that your Club Growth Director, Kevin Poe, your Club Program Quality Director, Ron Hicks, your District Director, Monica Tucker, your Area Directors, your Division Directors are all resources for you. Okay, next slide, please. Today, we are going to hear about the club president role from Ms. Tracy Sherman. Tracy, take it away.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Cook. Hi, everyone. I am president of one club. Frankly, the club is struggling right now. And I'm going to talk to you about the general roles and responsibilities. And then I've also asked other presidents, former presidents and current presidents, what did they feel was helpful for them to know before they assumed the role? What would they have liked to have known? And what did they feel it's important for upcoming presidents to know? And that's the practical aspect. Next slide, please. Thank you very much. One moment, I'm going to read this, but I need to make it larger because I cannot see it. I'm going to read this because some of these words may be on your bingo game, and I don't want you to forego a bingo because I did not read this. The role and responsibility of the president. As the person who sets the tone for the club, you are expected to provide helpful, supportive leadership for all of the club's activities and be the first to assume responsibility for the progress and welfare of the club. You motivate, make peace, and facilitate as required. You must occasionally step in and make difficult decisions sometimes, but you rarely do so without consulting the club members and your other officers. Strive to show respect for all of your club members, even when you don't agree with them, and you are to provide leadership for all. And we're just going to leave it on that slide as I talk to you about the roles. As president, you really are coordinator. This is in the ideal club where you have all 7 officer roles filled and all of your officers are active. They may not know their role and responsibility right at the beginning if they have not had the opportunity or been encouraged to shadow, but they're willing to learn. And when you have all officer roles filled and when they're active and understand their role, honestly, the president's job is pretty easy. As I said, you're the coordinator. You preside over meetings, and that means you typically open the meeting, you discuss club business, whether it's at the beginning of a meeting or at the end of a meeting, and then you close the meeting. If you are not at a meeting, the world is not going to fall apart. The second in command, typically the VPE, will be the presiding officer. It's also really important to hold officers' meetings. Here you get updates from the different officers. You find the status of upcoming events, upcoming deadlines, status and progress toward the Distinguished Club program, and you come up with plans. You're not the one who has to always come up with the plans of open houses, special events, community activities, but you're there to lead the discussion and find out what ideas people have. People hold officers' meetings at all different times. I've had some people say they hold them after the 4th meeting every month or for 30 minutes before the first meeting of the month. One club said they hold a morning huddle, weekly, excuse me, not morning, a weekly huddle, whether it's a Monday or the day before their club meeting, just so all the officers are on the same page. And typically, especially now with Zoom, you can do that virtually or you can do it over the phone. Another biggie for the club president is to disseminate information that you receive from your area director, from your division director, or from any one of the trio. Typically, those emails are sent to the president and the vice president of education, but if those two are not the best point of contacts for whatever reason, it's a matter of the officers deciding which are the 2 best contacts that will actually send out the information. And it's sent to 2 people because that way there's a higher likelihood that at least one of them is going to send out the information. And also, when you get an email from your area, division, or district trio, and they're asking for contacts and they're asking for information, please respond to them because it's so much more work when people don't respond because you don't know if they received the email, you don't know if they're too busy and are going to answer later. But just to be courteous and to be sure to follow up and close that loop so they know whether you are in for whatever's happening or whether you are not able to participate. Again, that's in the ideal world that you have a full slate of officers and they are all active participants. I envy you if you are in clubs that are that way most of the time. As I said, I'm the president of a club that is struggling. And the big question is, what do you do when, as president, you either don't have officers to fill the role, and this alludes to what Toastmaster Cowing had said, you have officers filling the roles, but they're burnt out and they're in name only. And what I decided to do, because I have my perspective of being club president, but I wanted to find out other people's perspective. And as I said at the beginning, I asked a few people, what do you feel as club president it's important for upcoming presidents to know? And what was it that you either knew or would have liked to have known that would have been helpful for you as a club president? I love the answers because I feel they're spot on. One is, it is your action, it is not your responsibility. Your job is to check in, see what's going on, see what additional support is needed. It is not your job to do it all. And again, while I do believe that, it becomes very hard when you have few members, you don't have a complete officer slate, and officers are doing 2 roles or 3 roles. And then what you decide is, are you going to try to motivate that officer? Perhaps find out, does that person just need a break? Is their life too much going on in their life for the next month or 2 or 3? Can somebody step in for those few months, and then the officer feels like he or she will be ready to resume those responsibilities? Or perhaps, especially for vice president of education and other roles, it's a lot. So perhaps the person is overwhelmed in that officer role. And as president, you can talk to them and say, are there aspects of the role that you find just really difficult to do in conjunction with everything else? Can we find someone to help you and share that responsibility? And that would be great, because again, then you would still have the officer doing some of the role, maybe the bulk of the role, but parts of it can be shared with other people. And then of course, the last option is you do it yourself. And one person said that she finds she jumps to that choice first, rather than trying to motivate the member, rather than trying to find a replacement. It's, I'll just do it myself. I'm certainly guilty of that, especially when I know that the other officers are overwhelmed. Rather than ask them to take on another responsibility, even if it's a phone call or an email or doing some research, I don't want to overburden them. I'm assuming that will overburden them, and I would do it myself. The worst thing is you ask and they say, I can't do it. And you go through your officers or your members, and then maybe you will do it yourself. But that doesn't have to be the first go-to. And again, this was alluding to Toastmaster Cowing and the leadership piece from Toastmaster Cole Bell, that burnout, it's real, folks. If you haven't experienced it, good for you, and I hope you don't. But if you take on as president, oh, I'll do this phone call, I'll do this email, I'll look this up. That's great if it's a one and done. But if you keep doing that, oh, it's only 5 minutes. I can do that. Oh, that's 10, I can do that. Suddenly you've got all these 5 and 10 minute sections adding up, and you can get overwhelmed and be done. Another comment that was made is, and this is a really great one, get familiar with the calendar prior to your term. What are the training dates, or what are the training timeframes? What are the contest timeframes? As soon as we're told what the different contests are going to be for the spring, start talking about those contests. Tall tales, that's a new one. Maybe people need more information. But getting familiar is really good, because there are different types of contests and different types of awards for membership building. And sometimes you finally get a chance to read your email, and it's like, oh shoot, this membership building is done next week. Well, guess we're not doing that. Be familiar. And the district has the information on the website. It's updated, and keep abreast of that. A big one is update your contact information in Club Central on Toastmasters International website. Oftentimes we don't think about it. There's so much, especially at the beginning, when you take over at 1st of July, we're talking about training, we're talking about membership building, and it's a lot to keep up with. Update that confirmation, update that contact information in TI. Go to Club Central, you can update who your POC is, you can update location, you can update meeting dates and times, because if people are going there to find information about your club, you want the information up to date, and you certainly want to have someone who is going to respond. Maybe your VP membership is too swamped. He or she can't take these. Well, that's okay, but put somebody in there who will respond. Also, if you need a club coach or your club decides that club coach is for you, you can tell your area director, division director, club growth director, but the request needs to come from the club, ideally the president, and you need to contact your club growth director and request a coach so that he or she knows you are requesting it actively. It's not that, you know, it's easy to say, oh, I'd like a club coach. Will you tell so-and-so I'd like a club coach? You're not taking responsibility for that action. So you're the one, it needs to come from the club. At your officers meeting early in the year, and whenever you have them, do a to-do list. What events are coming up? Who is going to do what and by when? It's so easy for us to say, okay, we need to do this, 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 and this. Okay, meeting's adjourned. You have no idea who's doing what. People assume it's going to be somebody else. So get those names written down, get those dates written down. And I think this is a big one, and it can help with burnout. I found for me, I used to, as president, and really this goes for any officer role or any personal or other professional responsibilities, set aside time. I find it's easy to, oh, I got 5 minutes here, I'll do this. I've got 10 minutes, I'll do this. But what if you don't have that? Suddenly you're not going to do the things you think you had planned on, whether it's an hour a week, an hour on Thursday, 30 minutes on Friday. That is your Toastmaster time. I found for me, it helps me focus and it helps me go through my to-do list, which I love to check things off my to-do list. Set aside time, really consider that, and it helps you prioritize. And also, we are over the halfway point now, and during your next officer meeting, find out where your club is. If you are looking to be distinguished, then find out what the status is. Sometimes members don't submit their information until they know the club has a chance to be distinguished because they don't want to waste that award. And if that's what your club chooses to do, that's your choice, but still find out. Okay, we talk about it in the club success plan, ideally, that who's going to come up with what award, but keep track of that. And also, as president, you are one of the 3 base camp managers. And it's you, it's the VPE, of course, and it's the secretary. And just be sure who is going to be doing what, who is going to be doing levels. Don't assume that it's the VPE who's going to approve the levels. Make sure so somebody gets it done. That is all I have. Thank you, Toastmaster Cook. And if there's any questions, we'll take care of those at the end. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tracy, for giving us the responsibilities of the president. Now let's hear from one of our bingo divas about words you heard while Tracy was presenting.
Madam Education Chair, the bingo game is about to begin, fellow Toastmasters. The 3 bingo words or phrases for this session are CEO, leader, and base camp manager. The CEO, the club president, is the chief executive officer and is responsible for fulfilling the mission of the club. You chair club meetings and the club executive committee. You appoint all committees, and you have general supervision over the operations of the club. Leader, as president, your focus is on the club quality and the members' experience. It is your responsibility to provide leadership for the club. This includes creating a nurturing learning and experience, enhancing club quality by conducting well-run, energetic, interesting meetings, and listening patiently and offering assistance when needed. First, Base Camp Manager. The Base Camp Managers help facilitate members' progress in the Toastmasters Pathways learning experience. You verify education, approve requests, track progress on Base Camp. The President supports the VPE to ensure completion of Base Camp Manager tasks. Again, the bingo words for this session are CEO, leader, and first Base Camp Manager. If these are on your card, just click and it will place an X over that square. I will now return control to Madam Education Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Hattie. You said the president is the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer. I like to call them Chief Encouragement Officer because sometimes our leaders just need encouragement. So the president should always be upbeat and personal and positive. In those times you can't be positive or upbeat, you can still be encouraging. All right, let's move on to our next club officer position, which is Vice President Education. And that will be presented by Ms. Kim Good.
Hello, fellow Toastmasters and honored guest of District 77 and beyond. The club vice president has several roles. First, they are the primary base camp manager. It is their job officially to do the base camp work for everyone in the club but themselves. But they have help, the president and the VPE. One thing I want to follow up with something Tracy said. Make sure your emails are correct in World Headquarters, especially the VPE, because you're going to be getting notices about this. It's important that you check your emails regularly. When it comes to base camp, World Headquarters has some good videos to show you what you need to do. So I'm not going to go into that, but I am going to tell you a couple of things that are important. If you have a member who's doing a path on paper instead of online, then you're going to need to mark each project complete as they do it. You're going to need to go in and do that. And that's only if they're doing it on paper. And I learned this kind of the hard way this year when we had a member doing things on paper. The other thing that's important is that in order for the club to receive credit towards their DCP goal, you must go to Club Central and click Submit Education Awards, then click the member's name, and then which awards you're assigning to the club. So besides approving it in base camp, you also need to approve it in Club Central for the club to get the award. The next thing you do as VPE, is there another page for VPE? I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you to go to the next one. Your next job is coordinating the club schedule. There's two ways this is normally done, and it's up to the club to decide. One, club members sign up for roles, or two, the roles are assigned for the VPE, by the VPE. But either way, you're the one responsible for making sure members know what their role is. You're making sure that somebody prints the agenda and it's at the meeting, whether the meeting's online or in person or hybrid. One thing to keep in mind with hybrid meetings is that it would be good to put the agenda in chat for visitors so they can have it. Even if you've emailed it to all the members, if you have visitors, it would online, it would be good to put it in the chat. And each club does it different. You have clubs where the Toastmaster is responsible for the agenda. I know of other clubs where the VPE is responsible for having the agenda at the meeting. But either way, as VPE, especially if the club members sign up for roles, you've got to make sure that role of Toastmaster is taken. And if not, email everybody and say, we need a Toastmaster, or we need these roles, so that all the roles get filled. And that's why it's such an important job. And something Tracy mentioned, and that I believe the VPE role requires more work in general outside the club than most other roles. But it's also a very fulfilling role, and you learn so much of what it takes to be a leader. And another thing to point out that we don't often do, if your club is big enough, make sure you have a team to help you so that you're not responsible for all of this yourself. The next role that mentions is supporting the education program. And this goes with coordinating the club schedule. But how do you do this? How do you support the education program? First thing you need to do is know what your members' goals are. Know what they want to achieve in Toastmasters, and then you can help them with the education program. To me, almost all of these Vice President of Education responsibilities, other than planning a speech contest, they're all involved the same thing. Managing the mentor program. Every new member should have a mentor, but you also need to make sure that the mentor and mentee are doing their job well. The mentor is not coaching the mentee necessarily, they're helping them achieve their goals. And that's something that as VP of Education you want to do. And I want to go there, that under resources on the World Headquarters site, there are a lot of resources for helping the VPE do their job. There's a couple of forms for new members to fill out so that you can know what their goals are, so that they can put their goals on paper. There's another form that you want new members to fill out after 30 days to see how they're growing as a Toastmaster and to see what the club can do to help them. There are forms for members' goals. Some of us have been members for 10, 20, even 30 years, but do we still have goals? Are we just in Toastmasters to have fun? Or we still have goals we want to achieve? The VPE needs to know that. And so you can encourage that 30-year member who's having a hard time with pathways because of the technology. Hey, we'll help you get where you need to go so you can give these speeches and achieve your goals. You want to be supportive in the education program, but you also have to keep up with how your club's doing in the DCP as part of the education program, since the majority of the goals have more to do with the education program than others. I hope all of you know how to go on the World Headquarters site and look up the Distinguished Club program so you can see for your club. I did it for both of my clubs earlier today. And it's not something you have to do all the time, but as we get closer to the end, you want to know, how does your members' goals check with the club goals? Are the members following through on that promise they made back in July to achieve this number of educational goals? That's the responsibility of the VPE. But you also need to work with the VPM, the club membership person, with new members, because there's a time when they're working to make them new members, but you also have to make sure they understand pathways and what to do. I don't know how many of you have started a path since they changed level 1, but there's more videos involved now with level 1 that show you how to follow through with a path. They've made a lot of very good changes to help new members understand pathways and understand their goals, but you still need to talk it through them, not just you and not just the mentor. It should be both of you doing that role to make sure that they understand what's going on. Does your club have an organized club mentor program? Most clubs don't. It's just whoever happens to work with that person at the moment or agree to be a mentor at that moment. All of these things take time. And I really like the question about encouraging new members to do a role. VPE is not a role for new members. Maybe they can work at VPM or secretary, and the VPE can work with them. And the other previous people who have held that role can mentor the new member. You definitely don't want to scare them by starting them with the VPE that requires the most work. The main role of the VPE is the education program. That's why they're called Vice President of Education. But they're also there to support the president, just like the president should support the VPE. If the president's not there, then you get to hold that gavel and bang it and say the meeting's starting. But you could also let another member do it so they could get the experience of doing it. That's something I learned from Lillian. All of these are things that we need to do as Toastmasters to support our club officers, even if we're almost always a club officer. You want to help the VP of Education as much as possible with those roles. The base camp manager, only people that can help with that are the president and the secretary. But I like it when I was VPE and the president says, did you see this email? Because no, I hadn't looked at my email that day. So that was something that helped me know, hey, I need to go make a check. But I also need help from VPPR or the secretary and treasurer, because the roles of the VPE sometimes require money, like planning the speech contest, which is something I haven't gotten into. This year, we're having Tall Tales and the International Speech Contest. Hopefully your club has already had a club contest, but you know, you don't have to have a club contest to send someone to the area contest. But you need to know the speech contest rule book in order to know that. The speech contest rule book, you can read it 4 or 5 times and still find new stuff in it, even if you're a longtime Toastmaster sometimes, because they make changes every year. One change that's being argued right now is that currently you have to have 6 speeches in a CC or completed level 2. Well, they're soon going to drop that 6 CC so that everyone has to complete a level 2. They're doing that to try to encourage some of the older members to complete pathways, to start in pathways. This is just something that I believe is needed so that us older members get the hang of it. But there are always changes going on. One place you can learn about those changes, where I learned about this one, is on the International Toastmasters Facebook page. We have Facebook pages for club officers in District 77. Join that page, ask questions, give advice, answer questions. Those are resources for all officers, not just the VPE. But as VPE, I had more questions than some of my other roles. So it was great to be able to ask questions in these places. So that's what my main point to all of you, no matter what your role is today, is ask questions if you don't know. Start with people in your club. You can go to the area and division directors, but there's also other sources like Facebook. I happen to be in 2 clubs that do not have an area director. And I admit to have having a little bit of trouble getting information to flow down. I should do a better job of looking at all the changes Jessica makes to the district website. That's another great source for us. The VPE and all the officers, there's no need to make up something. It's already been done by somebody at World Headquarters or in another club or district, just look out for it or ask questions. The very last thing is one of those that I wanted to talk about. You can put up a chart to see how people have progressed in pathways. There's also an Excel spreadsheet. There's 2 or 3 of them floating around so that you can help your club keep up with where the members are in each of their levels in each path. If you want that, I will make sure that Ron sends it out again to all the VPEs, and other people can email me or Lillian and can get that. But it's a great resource that you can use to keep up with your clubs. I look forward to any questions you might have. Madam Education Director.
Thank you, Kim, for all of that information for Vice President's Education, one of the busiest officer positions in the club and pivotal to the club's success. Okay, Madam Bingo Diva, what words should our attendees have heard during this segment?
Madam Education Chair, the 3 bingo phrases for this session are mentor program, speech contest, and primary base camp manager. Mentor program. The Vice President of Education is the 2nd ranking club officer and is responsible for planning, organizing, and directing a club program which meets the educational needs of the individual members. The VPE assigns every new member a mentor and keeps track of who is mentoring whom. Speech contest. The VPE responsibility includes planning speech contest. Find out which speech contest your district is scheduled to host during your term of office and plan your club contest accordingly. And primary base camp manager. As the primary base camp manager, the VPE has primary responsibility of facilitating and tracking each member's progress in the Toastmasters Pathways learning experience by verifying education, approving requests, and tracking progress on base camp. Again, the 3 bingo phrases are mentor program, speech contest, and primary base camp manager. And I return control to you, Madam Education Chair.
Thank you, Madam Shantaine. I just saw a question in chat. Does anyone see this word on the card? There are 10 different bingo cards, and you may see some words on some, other words on others. So everyone does not have the same card. That way it is fairer. Okay, it's time to talk about membership. And that's one of the things a lot of our clubs struggle with. So every club officer, please listen to what our VP membership presenter has to say and help me welcome Judith Kidd.
Thank you, Madam Education Director, and good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters. Vice President of Membership. Well, we've been under a 21-month pandemic protocol. We have developed new ways of communicating through Toastmasters, notably the virtual meeting format. Now, I'm going to use this platform. I'm going to use the Pathways. Oh my goodness. I'm going to use the Pathways evaluation form to go through this Vice President of Membership. First, challenge. What is our challenge as Vice Presidents of Membership? Member recruitment and retention. What do we need to work on? We need to work on getting guests into our meetings and converting those guests to members. Need to work on packets for our guests. We need to work on membership building programs, and we need to work with other officers in order to accomplish our membership goals. As we're doing this, what do we excel at? Well, we excelled at either volunteering or being voted into this position to help our club and to aid in our own personal growth. Next slide, please. Now, the verb, you see this paragraph above that tells you the responsibilities of the vice president of membership. Okay, yeah, bring in guests. Now, we talk about membership recruitment, and how do we do that? First of all, we need to attract guests to our club meetings. There are many ways that we can do this. We talk about having open houses, which we want to publicize as special events. We talk about maybe each person that's attending the meeting, bring a friend, bring a family member, bring a stranger off the street into your club meeting, each one bring one. Working with our Vice President of Public Relations in order to advertise that we are having a club meeting and what's going on in our club meetings and how we conduct club meetings. Yes, we need to be working with close conjunction with not only our VPPR, but also our secretary possibly, in order to accomplish goals that we have as vice presidents of membership. You want to make sure that when you get a guest in there, that they feel welcome, that they feel the energy of the club, that this is someplace that is fun and educational and a great place to network and connect with other people. This is the kind of club culture that you want to impart to your incoming guests. It's one way that we can hopefully convert that guest to a member. You want to also not only get the guests in there and convert them to members, but the members that you do have, you want so much to hold on to them. Membership retention. And this is another thing that you can work in committee. Helping keeping your members engaged. Number one way to do that is, what are your members' goals? Why did they join? If we can keep members and get members in, it not only helps the health of the club, but it will be reflected in the Distinguished Club program with the membership building. A healthy club is something that we all really need to strive to. 12 members and more, it gets to be a point where you're not doing something every meeting. Maybe you just want to come to a meeting and sit down and relax and listen to a speaker. Maybe participate in table topics. You don't always want to be the Toastmaster or the general evaluator or even the timer. You want to enjoy the meetings. And one way that we can do that is if we get the membership up to where it's healthy, meaning everybody doesn't have to do something at every meeting, and that will help alleviate some of the burnout that we're experiencing, not only with our club officers, but with some of our club members. So, Vice Presidents of Membership, we've got a really heavy job to do. First, recruiting new members. That is getting those guests in, attracting the guests to come into the meeting, however you work it out with your other members and with your other officers. Making sure that your guests know what's going on during the meeting. If you're sitting next to them in person, make sure someone is next to them that can explain little things that go on during the meeting, like why do we clap? Why do we shake hands or bump fists or bump elbows when we pass each other going up to the lectern? And if you're doing an online meeting or virtual meeting, making sure that they can communicate one-on-one, maybe doing a private chat, going back and forth, or whatever questions that I guess might have. Make sure that there is someone assigned to a guest to make sure that we can answer the questions that they might have coming into our meeting. Excuse me. Membership building programs. We usually talk about having an open house. We had a discussion about open houses a couple of meetings ago. And we wanted to make sure that these are something that will attract people, attract those guests coming in. And we want to make sure that maybe not just an open house, because really, what is an open house, especially if you're doing a virtual meeting? We want to make sure that it is something special, giving some kind of format to this, to getting those guests in that's a little bit different maybe than our regular meeting. We're in contest season now. This is a great way to have to advertise your contest and maybe attract some guests to come in and see what's going on. It's a little bit different than our regular meeting. It's a contest, you know, so there's some excitement built in there. You might want to use your club contest or even an area contest as a special event that you might invite people to, especially since we are on virtual right now. So all our contests are going to be online. Area, division, and district are going to be online. So it makes maybe a little bit easier to invite people to see what goes on and then follow up with them after the contest. So you can do that as a special event. Or maybe you're going to invite a guest speaker from another area or even another district to come in and speak on a subject that you might feel would be beneficial to people hearing. So that's another way you can use your special event and to attract guests. And attracting guests, that's one of your number one goals as Vice President of Membership, attracting guests and then converting those guests into members. So these are just a couple of ideas you might want to use for a membership building program. And making sure that when your guests are in there, someone is there to assist them. There is nothing worse than having a guest or 2 or 5 or 20 come in and you kind of just leave them hanging, letting them fend for themselves. Let's make sure that that does not happen when we have these special events or even our regular meetings. Make sure that we have contact with our guests. Once you convert that guest to a member and you process it's not over because you got to make sure that the paperwork is done. Make sure that they filled out that application either online or on paper. And as soon as possible, make sure you put that information into the Toastmasters website, making it official that this is a member of your club. And not only on the Toastmasters website, because that's where they're going to get recognized, but if you have a club website that you use to communicate with each other, or some kind of group meet or meet up or whatever things that you might be using to communicate with club members, make sure that that new member has access to that. Make sure that you've added them to that membership roster. That's very important because if you're sending out communications and sending out information, you want to make sure that they get that information from the very beginning. Don't leave them hanging. Executive membership, executive committee membership. Please, Vice President of Membership, make sure that you attend these your club executive committee meetings. That's a meeting of all your officers plus the immediate past president. Make sure you're in there and that you all can discuss things that are going on, especially with membership retention. If there's someone that hasn't been to your meeting in a while, get with the secretary or get with a couple of other officers to communicate with them. Get on the phone, send them a text, send them an email. Hey, we've missed you. Is there anything that you need from us? How's life treating you? What's going on? Make sure that you keep up with those members that may go absent for a little while, and find out what's going on. That's going to help you with your membership retention. There are so many things on the Toastmasters International website in the branding manual that can help you and your Vice President of Public Relations get the word out. They've got flyers that all you have to do is fill in the gaps. They've got evites and invites that all you have to do is fill in the gaps. They have pamphlets ready that are ready for you to hand out or email or send out to people who are your potential members, giving information on Toastmasters. So vice presidents of membership, keep that information handy. Also, another way that people may come into your club is they've Googled Toastmasters, or they've gone to Toastmasters International and have gone to find a club. Make sure that information that is on Toastmasters International, as far as who the contact is, make sure that information is up to date, accurate, and working. Make sure those links are working. Make sure that visit website, make sure that's working. And the same thing with your club website. Make sure that contact information is working. Now, February 1st through March 30th, it's Talk Up Toastmasters, a perfect time to plan those special events. This is something you're going to want to sit down with your executive committee and talk over and set a date and set an agenda of how you're going to do it, what you're going to do, who you're going to invite. This is a perfect time, and you get a ribbon if you're successful during Talk Up Toastmasters time. Area councils. Vice presidents of membership are also members of your area council, which also includes club presidents and club vice presidents of education, as well as your area directors. Attend these. This is a place where you can network with other club members, other club officers on your level, and exchange ideas. Maybe there's something that they're doing that would help you. Maybe you're doing something that help them. You all may have the same problem, and maybe you can brainstorm and come up with a solution, or come up with solutions to your problems that you're having, or someone has come up with something. So make sure if you have an invite or a direction for an area council meeting, you're going to want to attend those. Yeah, the vice president of education, they've got a lot to do, a lot to do. I know I'm VPE of 2 clubs, and it is a lot to do. But unless I have members to do it with or do it for, my hands are empty. So vice presidents of membership, you know what your job is. Recruit guests, convert guests to members, and keep those members as time goes on. Thank you. I'll turn this back over to our Madam Education Chair. Thank you, Lillian.
All right, thank you, Judith. I like the way you use the evaluation resource to present for vice president membership. I agree, it is a very important role for the club, because without members, why are we there? And we want to invite new people so they can see the benefit of Toastmasters. All right, Madam Bingo Diva. I saw something in chat that you could only look for the words that the Bingo Divas give you. Not true. You may hear other words that are not said by the Bingo Divas. If it's on your card, check it off. Okay, Madam Bingo Diva.
Thank you, Madam Education Chair. All right, fellow Toastmasters, as she said, it's time to mark your bingo cards again. The 3 bingo phrases for this session were recruit new members, process applications, and monitor membership levels. Recruit new members. You lead the club's effort to continually increase membership, to have a continuous influx of new blood, new ideas, and new excitement. You promote the main goal of obtaining 20 members or a net goal gain of 5 members per year. Process applications. You collect and manage paperwork in the application process. You need to be sure that new members are voted in, and also arrange for an induction ceremony. Monitor membership level. Each club should have a membership base of 20 members or a net gain of 5 members during the year. Again, the bingo phrases for this session were recruit new members, process applications, and monitor membership levels. I will now return control to our education chair. Madam Education Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Hattie. We move on to our next club officer role, which is Vice President Public Relations. There are some people who you call on when you're not sure with technology, and some people just seem to pick it up a lot quicker than others, and that's what our next presenter does. She is our District Public Relations Manager, Jessica Silhavi. Jessica, take it away.
Thank you, Madam Education Chair. Vice President's Public Relations. You are the liaison between your club and the public. You want to build relations with the public. Now, the public is not just those who are not members, it is also those who are members. And you want to promote the club. Promote the happenings within the club. Promote them to the local community and make sure the information is getting to your members as well. Toastmasters International says that you are to promote your club to the local community and notify the media. Media in today's age involves the internet as well as offline opportunities as well. You will also promote the club, update the web content, and safeguard the Toastmasters brand identity. It is your job to notify the media when your club is doing something newsworthy. As you've heard mentioned, special events, special activities, those are to be promoted. Promote them as much as possible. If a member has achieved a status, completed a level, share that with the public and share it. Make sure it's getting shared with your members as well. You will find yourself writing news releases, creating and distributing flyers, and maintaining club's presence on the web in the community. That seems like a lot to do. However, as you've heard over and over again, you are to work with other officers, other members. Your vice president membership, which you just heard, is to get new members. They work on building that membership base and keeping current members engaged. You are to help them do that. So you should be working closely with your vice presidents of membership. You should be working with them to promote through the news media, and this is where the news releases come in handy. Those open houses that are, I know, special events that are going to be coming up over the next couple months. Toastmasters International helps make this easier by providing you templates on toastmasters.org. You will find underneath the Leadership Central, and resources, there's a whole section dedicated to public relations. News releases for special events, news releases for guest speakers, news releases for contests. Are you working with your vice president's education right now to promote your contests? Those are great opportunities to help bring in potential members and bring in maybe those members who have been sitting on the sidelines thinking, maybe I should go to the meeting tonight. Oh, this has come up, I'm not going to, but getting them excited to come to those meetings again. To do this, you have an abundance of platforms to help you. First is the Toastmasters International website. Help make sure that information on that website is updated for your club. Plus, use the resources to help you. The next thing you need to make sure is updated is your club website. Make sure you maintain it. That means posting something, but going back and updating it, putting fresh information on it, updating your members list, making sure your VPM, your VPE, your treasurer, your secretary, your president, your sergeant at arms all have access to the information they need. Make sure that's all updated so they can access it. Make sure your your club's contact information is updated properly. You want that club website to be someplace when guests find it, they go, oh, and then they can easily search and navigate and find information. You want it to be a place where members can come and say, oh, and easily search and navigate information they need for the club meetings. You want to make sure your meeting times and locations are accurate on everything. Double check, have a team help you. You don't have to do it on your own. Maybe you aren't the greatest at writing news releases, even with a template. Find a club member who can help you. Plus, that club member could be your successor. As we heard earlier in today's training, we want to help step up into leadership roles. Find people to help you. Find a team. Work with other officers. You want to maintain your club's presence in the local newspapers or radio stations. A lot of them have free opportunities for you. You do have to do a little bit of research, but there's a website called mondotimes.com. Toastmasters International has it on their website for you as well, but you can go and find a listing of all the local news media, whether it's television or radio. You want to keep and maintain your club's social media presence. The other day, I actually had a question about this. I guess I didn't personally have the question. I saw the question because I was on Toastmasters International's Facebook group. And a guy was talking about not being comfortable with all of that. He isn't really sure how to run a Facebook page or a Facebook group. Sure, he can participate in them, but he's not sure how to run it. And then there's other things such as TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram, Meetup, all those other things he's not interested in. And he's like, how am I supposed to do that if I don't know how? What you do is you go to your club members. Find those club members who do know how to do those to help you. You do not have to do it all, but you do want to make sure you are there. Pick a platform or two. There are a lot of them. There is LinkedIn. Oops, I apologize. There is LinkedIn. There is Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Meetup, Instagram, TikTok. There is a lot of different platforms out there. And I can tell you right now, I am not highly skilled at all of them. I do know basics, but I'm not highly skilled at all of them. If I was going to use TikTok or Instagram, I would definitely find somebody else to help me for sure. With LinkedIn, I know a lot and I can navigate my way around and I can do it, but I would rather have help doing it. Because if I have to keep Twitter updated, Facebook updated, LinkedIn updated, YouTube updated, my website updated, Toastmasters Internet, it gets to be a lot. So find other people to help you. But make sure all of your contact information is the same across all your platforms. Make sure branding is consistent across all your platforms. If you go to your Facebook page and you have a different contact information than you do on your website, it may still work, but that means multiple different people are getting the information. You want to make sure the same contact is listed so it gets distributed appropriately. You know that it's going to go to the right person. You know it's going to get answered without a lot of people saying, am I getting this information? Plus, I have also come across websites that are outdated and there is no contact because that contact is no longer a Toastmaster. And the same for Toastmasters International. Some websites aren't updated, contact information, times and dates and locations. You want to make sure all of those are updated. When you have all these social media platforms, if you're thinking about right now creating them, go out and do a quick search on them to make sure your club is not there already. If it is there, try to find who created it, who started it, who is the administrator on it. For example, if it's a Facebook page, it's a personal profile that's an administrator on it. So see who that administrator is, contact them, see if they can switch you to administrator instead of creating multiples. Because if you create multiples, you come into the issue of which one is the accurate one. When people are searching, they'll might find the old one instead of the new one. So you want to make sure that is updated. Your website, making sure it stays current is important, because when people do a search on Google, the more you update your website, even if it's changing a phrase on a page, you want to update that page and resave it. It attracts more. It moves it up higher in the algorithm, so it becomes closer to #1 when people are searching. So it's important to keep those web pages updated. Same with Facebook and LinkedIn. Not everybody is going to see your post, even if they like your page or they follow your page, your profile. They will not always see it. If you want them to see it more, you need to post more. Another thing that I highly recommend, that I learned the hard way, that actually really helps, is to ask when you create a post or you share a message, tell them, say, share this post, leave a comment below, because the sharing and the commenting is what gets it more traction. And that goes for our district information too. Those of you, when you go to our Facebook page or our LinkedIn page, share and comment to help that attract more visibility within the outside. The last thing I want to talk to you about is safeguarding the Toastmasters brand. This is important. You can do this by looking at the brand manual, which is located in the resources in the Leadership Central on Toastmasters.org. But if their branding is not followed and there's a lot of discrepancy, it can affect their nonprofit status as well as cause confusion. I like to think of it as any of the huge food chains that you know, restaurants, McDonald's, the big golden arches. You know it's McDonald's when you see that, because you know the golden arches represent McDonald's. You could have the same restaurant and change that sign so it just says the word McDonald's, maybe in blue. And it could be the exact same restaurant, but just seeing that word doesn't say that it's McDonald's. Without those big golden arches, you don't know it's McDonald's, so you're not going to stop if McDonald's is what you want. Same with Toastmasters. We want to be able to go to the website, go to a Facebook page, and know that it belongs to Toastmasters, know that it's an entity of Toastmasters. Same with attending the meetings, your agendas. If you go to Toastmasters.org, they have agendas for you. If you're using free Toast Host, they have agendas that meet Toastmasters standards. If you're using Easy Speak, I know they do as well, but the branding is consistent on them and the schedule is consistent. Yes, you may change it up for an open house. You may change it up for a special event. You may change it up because you are giving an award ceremony. You can make changes for specific meetings, but overall, your agenda is going to remain consistent. You're going to open the meeting. You're going to have the Toastmaster run the meeting. You're going to have speakers, evaluators, table topics. Then you're going to have your reports at the end, your feedback. So you will have all of those. And during the meeting, you want to ensure those are staying consistent as well. And that's making sure you're using an agenda that's approved by Toastmasters, making sure your lectern or your banner are represented. Make sure that branding is there. Make sure it's consistent. Spend a lot. I know it's been a long day, but work with your other officers. Attend those executive committee meetings, because that's where you learn what those other officers need you to communicate to the public. Get your awareness out there, publicize the club, keep the club website current, and safeguard that Toastmasters brand, make sure it's consistent, so you are helping your other officers consistently bring in new members and support and engage the current members. Madam Education Chair.
Thank you, Jessica. All right, Madam Bingo Diva.
Thank you, Madam Education Chair. And members, congratulations. It appears that several of you have been very attentive, and special congratulations to the first 3 bingo winners. The 3 bingo phrase that you should have heard this session are promote the club, update web content, and writing news releases. Promote the club. The VPPR responsibility is to promote the club both internally and externally to engage current members and attract new members. Update web content. The club website is a great place to recognize achievements such as education awards, club speech contest winners, and distinguished club program goals met, and to promote upcoming events. And writing news releases. Write and distribute new releases about club activities, member achievements, and special events such as open houses and guest speakers. I now return control back to you, Madam Education Chair.
Thank you, Shantae. All right, let's move on to the secretary role. All right, I will be presenting as the duties for the secretary. And the first thing you should do as the secretary, or any club officer, in my opinion, if you have not done so already, is RTFB. Read the fabulous book. The book is the Club Leadership Handbook. It has information on all club officer roles. And if you have not downloaded the Club Leadership Handbook, go to Toastmasters International and type in Club Leadership Handbook in the search box, which is at the upper right corner of the screen, and hit enter. Then just download it to your computer. You may print it if you wish, or just keep it on the computer. So let's say you've downloaded the Club Leadership Handbook and you've read the duties, or you've already had it and you worked with your mentor to learn how to perform the duties of the secretary. Or maybe you've been a Toastmaster like me forever and a day, but I want you to know everything you do as secretary supports the club mission. And the club mission is to provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, which result in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Next slide, please. So as secretary, one of your responsibilities is to take notes. Really? In this day and time, you should take notes? Yes, because equipment fails, memory fails. Some people may not know how to use pathways properly. They know they need to give a speech and they just look at the hard copy or whatever and don't go back into the system and update things. If you have minutes, you can assist the VPE in assisting that person to make sure that pathways is brought current. There are templates for meeting minutes or the minutes for the meeting. Just go to Toastmasters International, click on resources, brand portal. That's just what Jessica was just talking about. But you click on stationary templates, and then you will see templates for the regular meeting, the executive committee meeting, the meeting agenda, all kinds of information is there. Next, you may be thinking, where are you going to post these minutes? Well, if you have a free Toast host, you can upload them to your club's website. Or you may find other free sites to post your documents and give access to the rest of your club members. Google Docs is one place. Amazon has a free storage for files. MediaFire, Zippy Share. Just Google free file storage, but do your research, because some of the free sites you find may be hosted by other countries. So you want to make sure there is some security, and you want to use something that's well known. And I am a true believer in using US products, but you have a place to store your minutes that the rest of your members can access. Okay, you want to maintain club files. Yes, there are club files such as the club constitution and bylaws. Do you know where those are? If they are still hard copy, see if you can find them and scan them into your computer and then store them in one of those shared places that the rest of your members can access. You also want to keep club-specific information from Toastmasters International. There are things you can download from the website to have handy. You, as the secretary, are responsible for maintaining those files. You want to report new club officers to Toastmasters International. If your club meets weekly, club officers are elected every 6 months. Otherwise, officers are elected for one-year terms. It is your responsibility to input that information via Club Central. Whenever I teach an officer session, I will say what I am saying is what's in the book. Doesn't mean you have to do it. Someone else in the club may do it, but it's your responsibility to ensure it gets done. This is why we work as a team. But one of the most important things we do, even as club members, as club officers, is to communicate with each other. Okay, so let's say I was a club officer in my club and I got a job in a different state. Well, I say, I can't be a club officer anymore. I'm learning a new job. I'm moving. This is happening. So someone else is going to take over that role. Well, you as the secretary, just go in and put in the new person as the club officer. And this way, that person gets all of the information from Toastmasters International, the information from the district, the information from your area director, with information that is important to the club. As a secretary, you are also a base camp manager. You are the third base camp manager in Pathways. The VPE is the primary base camp manager, but if the VP in your club is not a technologically savvy person, then they may call upon you as the secretary to take on the responsibility for that. Or the VPE may leave the club. Life happens. So you want to ensure you know how to perform the duties. And once you log into Basecamp, or you log in as the Basecamp manager, there are tutorials that will walk you through how to do the job. Watch those tutorials so you are vaguely familiar with how to do the job, even if you don't do it all the time. Another thing you do as secretary is vote on behalf of the club at Toastmasters International Annual Conference. Wow, did you know that? At the district, the president and the VPE carries the club votes, but at the international convention, the president and the secretary can assign the proxy. So communicate, it's either the president or the secretary. So the two of you need to talk to see who is going to assign the proxy. And if you can't attend the annual membership meeting or the annual business meeting, you may assign your proxy to any other Toastmaster that's going, or your district director. You should attend club executive committee meetings. A couple of other people have mentioned those. If your club isn't holding club executive committee meetings, I strongly urge you to begin to do so. Because according to Lewis Carroll from the story of Alice in Wonderland, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. We want to have a path that's going to take us to where we want to be, which is a successful club. As a club officer, you get a monthly club leader letter from Toastmasters International. Read that letter and share some of the information in it with your club officers. There are some good articles in there. It shows you how to do things, become a better speaker, gives you all kinds of tips. So read the leader letter. Arrange for your successor. This is January. We should be electing club officers in May. So you have about 3 or 4 months to let someone shadow you to see what you do. There's a template. All you've got to do is fill in the blanks. Show someone in your club how to fill in the blanks, preferably as someone that is not a club officer. And that way you prepare your successor for office. And those are the duties of the secretary. Now we will hear from our bingo diva.
Madam Education Chair, the next 3 bingo words are third base camp manager, maintain club files, and handle club correspondence. Third base camp manager, you assist the VPE and president facilitate member progress by verifying education, approving requests, the submission of level completions, awards, and tracking progress on Basecamp. Maintain club files. The secretary manages and maintains all club files. It is very important to know which materials must be kept for specific lengths of time, ranging from 5 years for audits and internal reports, 7 years for canceled checks and bank statements. And handle club correspondence. The secretary handles and maintains routine correspondence, such as signed membership applications. Copies of routine correspondence should be kept for a minimum of 3 years. I now return control to the Madam Education Chair.
Thank you, Madam Bingo Diva. Our next club officer position is the club treasurer, and it will be presented by Ms. Hattie Smith.
District leadership team, education chair, and fellow Toastmasters. Now we all know what the treasurer does. The treasurer handles the money, 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 money. Okay. I've always wanted to sing, and whenever I get a captive audience, I'll just do it. But as you can see, I was not blessed with that skill. Even though I've really tried to develop it, well, that's why I'm glad singing is not a requirement to be a treasurer. Now, on a more serious note, as treasurer, you are the chief financial officer, or the CFO, or more simply put, the club accountant. Now, I'm not saying that you have to be a certified public accountant, but you are required to keep timely, accurate, updated financial records. As treasurer, you are to work closely with the club officers or the executive team members to prepare first your club budget at the beginning of the Toastmasters year, which starts July 1st. Attend all executive meetings, as we have heard in previous presentations. At the executive meeting, your club executive meeting, present a financial report at each of these meetings. In the event that you are unable to attend the meeting, notify the president of your inability to attend. Prepare your report along with any necessary documentation and submit it to the president prior to the meeting date. Next slide. With the approval of the executive committee, pay any club bills, such as paying for an in-person venue. The 2 most important responsibilities of the treasurer are collect and submit membership dues to Toastmasters International on time. before April 1st and before October 1st each year. Number 2, start grooming your successor. In our club, we have what's called assistant officers, but as Toastmaster Sandra Coles Bell said earlier, ask a member to partner with you. Help them to challenge their imagination and see themselves in that position. You may have a discussion with your executive board at your executive board meeting and evaluate or determine which member may possibly be a good fit for treasurer. Then ask this person to work along with you or shadow you during the Toastmasters year. When working with them, discuss the methods of receiving funds, whatever method your club has decided upon. The banking and record keeping process should be discussed. Encourage them to attend the executive board meetings. After a few meetings, assist them to prepare and give the report at the executive meeting. Lastly, encourage them to take the lead in collecting and submitting dues for the next renewal period along with your support. There are things that you need to do before, during, and after a meeting. Before the meeting, prepare a financial report to present to the regular meeting when requested to do so. You don't present a financial report at every club meeting. That is not what I'm saying. But if the president asks you to do this, then you prepare one. During an in-person meeting, collect any membership dues or fees that need to be collected. At virtual meetings, inform members of the agreed upon method of paying dues and fees and give them the information that they need in order to submit the monies to you, whether it be by mail, sending a check, submitting payments by Cash App, Zelle, PayPal, Venmo, Google Pay, whatever it is your club has decided upon. Outside of the club, reconcile deposits, expenditures, and cash on hand each month. Issue checks to cover club expenses and prepare for the audit committee near the end of your term. Items that you will need for the audit committee are your checkbook register, bank statements, canceled checks, deposit slips, cash book journals, and paid bills. As treasurer, there are times that you may experience difficulty motivating members to pay their renewal dues early. Now, we have this challenge in our club from time to time. I know you don't have those, but we do. But again, what should you do if this occurs? First, set a date and announce the date that you want members to submit their renewal dues to you. As treasurer, you have the capability to send out invoices to each member via Free Toast Host. If you're not familiar with this process, have questions, or need a tutorial, be sure to reach out after this session to our program quality director, Ron Hicks, or our education chair, Lillian Cook, to set an appointment. They'll give you a quick tutorial, walk you through the process, and you'll be well on your way in no time. Now that you have your date set, send your invoices and start talking about renewal weeks in advance. For example, renewals are due to Toastmasters International on or before April 1st, preferably before April 1st. Therefore, as a recommendation, start making your announcements at least 4 weeks in advance. That means that you should start your announcements at the first meeting in March. You also need to establish a cutoff date for payments to be submitted to you. This should be at the latest 7 to 10 days prior to April 1st. Then be prepared to submit at least 8 or more renewals on that cutoff date if you have not received all of the monies from all of the members. Make announcements at each meeting, starting with your first meeting in March. For in-person meetings, you may want to develop a flyer to give to each person. Virtual meetings, Develop a flyer and put that on the screen at each meeting. And you may want to include this in your club announcements. Add it as a note at the end of your agenda. But continue to monitor how many people have paid their dues. And after the first, say, 2 weeks of announcements, you may still have members who have not responded. So send an email reminder or resend the invoice. Starting the 3rd week in March, I would suggest sending individual text message reminders to each of the persons that have not responded. Ask them if there is a challenge. In the event that you continue to have a few people lagging, set a time to speak with them individually and privately to determine the cause of the delay. If warranted, ask the members' permission to discuss their situation with the executive team to assist with a solution. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Another situation that you may encounter is that the previous club treasurer did not keep accurate records. Again, what should you do in this instance? At the beginning of your term, which is July 1st, take possession of all the available records, review the audit committee's report, if there is one, begin monitoring the club finances as effectively and completely as you can. Create a simple record-keeping system and document your procedures for future treasurers. Remember, the key to success is to work closely with all members, especially with your club officers or your executive team, to continuously build and maintain a healthy club. In other words, just handle the money honestly and accurately and maintain the club account. Madam Education Chair.
Thank you, Mrs. Hattie. Now let's hear from our bingo diva. Which words or phrases should we have heard during this segment?
Madam Education Chair, there are 3 bingo words for this session, but money isn't one of them. The 3 bingo words for this session are CFO, prepare club budget, and submit membership dues. The CFO, the club financial officer or club accountant, handles all of the money, maintains the club bank account, keeps timely, accurate, updated financial records. Prepare club budget. You are to work closely with all of the club executive team members to prepare a club budget at the beginning of the TM year. Decide if your club will access a local club dues to cover some of the expenses. And submit membership dues. Collect and submit renewal dues to TI in a timely fashion. Always remember that failure to submit membership dues payments to World Headquarters on time could have negative effects on club members. I now return control to Madam Education Chair.
Thank you, Shantae. Now we will hear from one of the most important officers in the club, the Sergeant at Arms, and take it away, Natasha Yoda.
Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters. We are nearing the end of our Leadership Institute for today. The Sergeant at Arms, an unsung hero. They are an important officer in our club. Now you've got to think about, how are you going to fulfill this responsibility? Do you have folks you can call on to assist you in the roles you have to do? When do you need to complete all of the actions? Who can help you out? And what materials and resources can you use? Of course, we know we can go to our area director, other club members, the division director, and anyone on the trio. You may have someone you met at a conference that you remember that you can rely on, who knew a lot of stuff. Ask them. Now, in BC, before COVID, the Sergeant at Arms was in charge of the meeting room, reserving it, making sure it was set up correctly, making sure it went back to how you found it. And of course, you've also got to take care of all of the property of the club. This may mean that you need a minivan or an SUV to carry everything around, or you need a closet in your home where you can keep this stuff. You're going to keep the banner and the flag, the podium if that moves with you, any files or flyers that you use at your events, and any signage that you put out for people to see where the club is meeting. Now, a lot of the meetings are different. They're hybrid or they're just Zoom. So what's your role? Be there early. Greet members, greet guests, keep up that social fellowship that we're used to. During the meeting, be a watcher. Make sure everyone's camera's positioned well. Make sure the lighting is good. And if there's a tip you can give someone, send them a direct message in chat. If dogs are barking or cats are meowing, send a little message. Ask them to mute until they're talking. Could a virtual background help because people are walking back and forth? At the beginning, maybe do a quick Zoom tutorial. Does everyone know how to navigate Zoom, where to find the buttons they may need, how to raise a hand, how to cast a ballot? If you are meeting in person or you're meeting hybrid, make sure you're chatting with your VP of membership to see if you can help reaching out with anyone who's not attended lately. The secretary can also help with this. Another good thing to know is the basics of parliamentary procedure. There is a lovely booklet that we can get from TI. It is item number 200. There's also Robert's Rules of Order for Dummies, which I got on my Kindle. That's very helpful too. You can also be another host of the call. If someone needs to be booted off of Zoom, you're the person, you're the sergeant at arms. Just like at a contest, you're the person who keeps people out when the contestants are performing. You can also be the person who will help any guests following the agenda, letting them know what's going along. And again, you can use the Zoom chat for this or sit near them if you're in person. Make sure that there's a Zoom meeting link on your free Toast host page and that it comes on the agenda. Make sure that anyone dialing in knows that it's going to take a little longer to connect their audio. Help with evaluation forms. If they are on that agenda, we can print them out beforehand and help get those back to the speaker. Having that social fellowship at the end of a meeting is also very important. Being sure to have that structure. If there's something missing, let the Toastmaster know, let the VPE know. Remember to help getting people signed up for roles, volunteer for roles. Always have a stash of inspirational thoughts available so that if an inspirational thought for the day is needed, you can step right in and have one and no one's missing anything. Be prepared to read the club mission statement and the Pledge of Allegiance if your club does that. Ultimately, you're there as a host, helping the Toastmaster and helping the VPE. Accommodate guests. And if you're in a speech contest, then you're going to be escorting contestants into separate rooms, breakout rooms. Any questions that you've got on this section, please put them in the Q&A to be answered at the end of this session. Back to you, Madam Education Chair.
Thank you, Natasha and guest.
That's Philip.
All right, Jessica, as we hear from our bingo diva for the last time, would you please put the survey link into chat? Would all of you please click on the link and complete it? This gives us lets us know you attended today's session, and we will give you credit. For those of you who are from other districts, if you can just put a little note by your last name, first name, like district, whatever, we will reach out to your program quality director and let him or her know that you attended today and should get credit. Okay, once again, Jessica, please put the link into chat, and Madam Bingo Diva, take it away.
Thank you, Madam Education Chair. Fellow Toastmasters, this is the final time that you can mark your bingo cards. The 3 bingo phrases for this session were maintain property, accommodate guests, and escort potential new members or contestants. Maintain property. At an in-person meeting, you keep track of all the physical property in addition to the things that Natasha mentioned. You may have sign-in sheets, visitors packets, name badges, ribbons, prizes, etc. After the meeting, you want to properly store all of your property in a specified place. There may be a place in the meeting area, and you may not have to take it back and forth, but just know where the specified place is. Help members with all online functions. Accommodate guests. When selecting a venue and preparing for meetings or events, be sure to provide appropriate accommodations for people, especially those with disabilities. At virtual meetings, warmly greet members and guests as they arrive online. Escort potential new members and or contestants. The Sergeant at Arms escort members into and out of the meeting room as requested to do so during a regular meeting and at certain speech contests. Again, the final bingo phrases for this session are maintain property, accommodate guests, escort potential new members. I now return control to you, Madam Education Chair. You're on mute, Lillian.
Thank you. Jessica, next slide, please. Okay, everyone, there are a lot of places you can find resources. You have gotten a lot of information today. Your main place for resources is the Toastmasters International website. However, locally, you have your area director, your division director, your club growth director, and your program quality director. Your area director should be able to answer any questions you have or give you any help you have about your issues in your club. If your area director can't help you, he or she will go to the division director and keep going forward. If you want ideas on growing your membership, talk to our club growth director, Kevin Poe. He has a team that will help you. If you have questions about the quality of your club meetings, participation at your club meetings, reach out to Program Quality Director Ron Hicks. He has a team that will help you with things such as this. Next slide, please. Okay, next slide. All right, Ron's email address and my email address are on the bottom of this slide here. Several of you have asked for the slide deck that we used today. I tried to make a note of it. However, the best way to get it is to send an email to D77lilcook@gmail.com so I can simply respond to you. We have almost reached our time, but we have one question I see in Q&A, and Jessica, it's for you. Do any of you use social media managers such as Buffer or Hootsuite?
Hootsuite. Yes, I use Hootsuite and I use Buffer, but I've actually found a new one that I like even better because you get a little bit more, especially if you're using the free version. Hootsuite and Buffer are limited for free. They do have a small cost, so it's okay if you do want to use them, and they are great for that. But I like Deliver It. I'll put it in chat too, but it's dlvr.it. You can have up to 10 platforms and then 50 posts on each. So it does give you a little bit more range for the free version. And I like it a little bit better. It does cover Facebook groups, Facebook pages, LinkedIn pages. It does not cover LinkedIn groups, but there's nothing I have found yet covers LinkedIn groups. So if you find one, let me know. I hope that answers your question.
Okay.
Oh,
All
let me
right.
say this. For those who don't know what the question is about, they're platforms. So when you post to them, you can post to all your social media platforms at one time. So you make one post and you click which platforms it goes to, and it sends them all out to that one at the same time. Or it can schedule it into certain time slots for you for each platform. Sorry, Lillian.
No problem, Jessica. Okay, Ron, I see your question in chat. I had just said, if you will put your district behind either your first name or your last name, we will send an email to your program quality director. We know who your program quality director is. If you are no longer on the survey, then just send an email to me and I will take care of you. We are here for you. Okay? All right. Kim Good, you have 30 seconds.
Thank you. I just wanted to let you know that I'm working with Jessica to establish a media team. And if you are in any way interested in publicizing Toastmasters to the rest of the district, especially with the local TV and radio stations through interviews and talk radio shows, please email me, kimgood@gmail.com, and we'll get to work on that. kimgood@gmail.com.
Okay, with Kim's, oh, you can take the slide down now, Jessica, thank you. With Kim saying that, there are lots of projects in pathways in levels 4 and 5. Work with Kim, work with Jessica, and you may be able to get credit for completing a project. And the 3 bingo winners for today that will be getting a prize are Todd Childers, Cecily Harper, Malaysia Adams. Yay! Thank you to everyone who attended today's session. Please ensure you click on the link and fill out the form. We have one more session scheduled for February 19th. So I will be looking at probably doing a download about a week before that date. And for any club that doesn't have at least 4 officers trained during the second round, well, let me put it this way. If you had 4 or more officers trained in the first round and you don't have that many trained in the second round, you will be getting an email from me as a reminder, because we want to have all of our clubs achieve as much as they can achieve towards a distinguished club program. And there have been surveys that shows the more club officers trained, the stronger the club is and the better it performs. And I am here as your education chair to support Ron in whatever you want. So whenever you need information about something, if you want a presentation done to your club, if you want it as a webinar, let me know. I'm the person to set it up for you. I may not present it, but I can set it up for you and make sure we have a presenter. If anyone has anything that is pressing, you may stay on. We will be on for a few minutes. It is now 3:02, and this training session is officially closed, but I will be here for a few minutes just in case there's anything that is really, really pressing.